Multiple massive antitrust probes are about to hit Google and Facebook next week. The story from the Daily Mail is dozens of state attorneys general set to begin their antitrust investigation into Google and Facebook next week, adding to the scrutiny the tech giants are already facing in a federal probe. And this also comes just after YouTube had to pay a $170 million penalty for collecting private information on children in violation of the law. Can I just say, I'm really confused how all of this is happening all around us. And we keep getting stories talking about how nothing's really going on. We have leaked emails. We know that Google and Facebook and Twitter and these big tech companies are biased. They're playing dangerous games, and we know they engage in what's called behavioral manipulation. Okay, there are companies that you can hire to program your apps to manipulate people. That's what they all do, and we know it. Now Facebook's announcing they're going to be doing dating. You know, when I first heard about the Facebook dating thing, I was like, well, that's creepy. But then I actually thought about this. You know, it's actually kind of cool, because imagine this, right? Have you ever noticed an advertisement on Facebook for something you were talking about? This phenomenon, it's very common. Everybody has experienced this. And people think it's because Facebook is listening to what you say. That's not true. Facebook knows so much about you, where you go, what you do. They know when you poop. I'm not exaggerating. They do. There was a story about it. They can predict it. They know when you eat. They know all of this. So they can predict perfectly what you will end up talking about. That's the power of AI, and it's rather creepy. I once went to Walmart and I walked past a bunch of TVs that were on sale and I pointed to it like, hey, that's interesting. When I got home, I saw an ad for basically that exact same thing from Walmart. And I laughed. It's not because they were spying on me. It's because they know I went to Walmart because they're tracking my phone. And based on my behavioral profile, they said, you probably would like a TV. They knew that I would be in the electronics aisle. Now think about this. As creepy as it is, could you imagine if Facebook found the perfect person for, like, the perfect people to couple? Like, could you imagine if all of a sudden it was like, date this person, trust us. We know so much about you. You guys will get along. It's creepy, but it actually sounds kind of nice. Just like not have to worry about, filling out stupid questions. Facebook just knows. Although I think about the future and that's really, really nightmarish. So perhaps we need an antitrust investigation into these companies. And it's about time it's happening. While the federal government may be doing it, we're now seeing all of these state-level attorneys are going after them. Good. Big tech is a nightmare dystopia. We're living in the futuristic nightmare dystopia. It was just, all these books in the past lightly predicted what was going to happen. And you combine all of them together, a little bit of 1984, a little bit of Fahrenheit 451, a little bit of Brave New World. You get them all together, and we get a little bit of everything. Because I guess while these authors could see one aspect, they couldn't see the whole picture. Well, let's read about what's happening with Google and Facebook. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you would like to support my work. There's a PayPal option, a crypto option, a physical address. But the best thing you can do is share this video. Because I am here pointing the finger at, or I'm biting the hand that feeds me. Why, yes, this video is hosted on YouTube, and I just criticized them over collecting children's private data. And now I'm going to agree that they should face an antitrust probe. I have to imagine Google's not going to like that. I made a video talking about Facebook antitrust and it got confirmed demonetized. Broke no rules. No rules at all. There's literally no guideline or rule or advertising restriction about talking about tech policy. Yet they struck it down. They want to make sure you don't profit off of calling out their BS. Well, Google, you're too big, you're too creepy. And Facebook and Google together, extremely creepy. You know what would be the end of the world? If Facebook and Google merged. I'd just be like, I'm out. I'm going to go live in the woods. Let's read on. The story says, dozens of state attorneys general are set to launch separate antitrust investigations into Facebook and Google as early as next week, which will add to the scrutiny the tech giants are already facing from a federal probe. Sounds good to me. The Google investigation is expected to be announced on Monday outside the U.S. Supreme Court and will be spearheaded by Republican Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, sources told the Wall Street Journal. Meanwhile, Democrat New York Attorney General Letitia James will be leading an overlapping group of attorneys general in a probe of Facebook. We got unity. We got Democrats and we got Republicans pointing the finger at big tech and saying, let's shut them down. Well, let's shut them down. A little hyperbolic. Let's read on. The attorneys general will reportedly be looking at the possible harm to consumers from Google's impact on digital advertising, as well as investigating concerns over Facebook's control of personal data. Google has said that it was cooperating with the state officials, but Facebook has not commented. Sources say the probes by the attorneys general, which have been speculated for several weeks, could be expanded to include other tech giants. Yes, please. I would like to see that very much. The tech giants, among the richest and most powerful companies in the world, are facing increasing antitrust scrutiny from Congress, federal agencies, and now the state's attorneys general. Why is it that we wait until they've become too powerful and already have disrupted much of our way of life before actually doing anything about it? Maybe it's because, I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you why Google and Facebook play it smart and side with the woke left. By agreeing with the people who typically call for regulation and antitrust, they've staved off this battle. Conservatives are torn between those who are angry over the censorship and those saying, but we shouldn't regulate a private business. Then you have the left that typically wants to. They say we should regulate these big companies. Big corporations are bad. But the corporations, favor their ideology and they say it's just a private business. What? So here's you know what I think? I think many people on the left know full well there is a bias against conservatives and to an extent moderates and even some liberals, but mostly to the right. I think they know the bias exists. And that's why they keep saying, but it's a private company. Because if they really, cared, if they didn't think there was a bias, they wouldn't be defending it as a private company. The fact that they offer up any defense at all means they understand the benefit they're receiving. Because think about this. If you came right now and said, this big oil giant is doing something wrong, they'd be like, shut them down. We don't care why, shut them down. But could you imagine if a bunch of left-wingers were like, well, it's a private business? No. Bernie Sanders called for the arrest and prosecution of oil execs, okay? And I don't think he's even the only one. People who didn't break the law. Okay, you're going too far for me. See, I'm a moderate. I'm kind of like, let's pass new laws and work our way towards, more carbon neutrality and renewable tech and all that stuff. Slowly. But we don't go and just arrest people because the legal business they were running had a negative impact. That makes no sense. But this is the point. Why defend any big corporations at all? Why would the left defend Facebook after all of the bad things Facebook has done? Why would people on the left, I don't want to say everybody, because you've got, Tulsi Gabbard and you've got some principled people, even Elizabeth Warren is calling them out. But there are leftists defending Facebook. Didn't Facebook sell private data to Cambridge Analytica helping Trump get elected? Why would you defend them as but a private business? It makes no sense. I can only imagine the reason is they know they reap the benefits of the bias. And so sitting there thinking, oh man, this is really good. They're banning people we don't like. But it's a private company? No, dude, sorry. You betray your principles at the last minute? Surely you must be benefiting. They say, the Justice Department said in July that it was opening a broad investigation of major digital technology firms focusing on whether they engage in anti-competitive practices. The investigation is believed to be aimed at Google, Amazon, and Facebook, and potentially Apple. Good. Separately, the Federal Trade Commission, which also enforces antitrust law, is also probing Amazon and Facebook to determine if they abused their massive market power in retail and social media, respectively. Of course they do. Go to Facebook right now. Go to Facebook right now. Well, don't close the video. You got to keep watching. But to open a new tab, send a message to one of your friends. Type in minds.com. Just that, minds.com. Type it in and see what happens. Your jaw will probably drop. You want to talk about anti-competitive anything? I think Bill over at Minds needs to send a letter to the FTC and say, you want to talk about anti-competitive behavior on Facebook's part? Again, I will stress, try and post a comment. Now, on mobile, it's a little different. If you're on the mobile messaging app, sometimes it just goes through. But open up a browser, go to one of your friends, or try posting this. Try posting a status, minds.com, and tell me what happens. I'm pretty sure I'm going to see a ton of people in the comments going, oh my God, holy, seriously. And for those that can't do it, now that we've walked a little bit past, give everyone an opportunity, I'll tell you what happens. They block it. That's right. Facebook blocks any attempt to post a link to minds.com. You have to do an auto captcha to prove you're not a bot. Tell me that's not anti-competitive behavior. You know why? Minds, for those that don't know, is a social network that aims to be decentralized. And when it comes to like policy enforcement, they have a jury system. You break the rules, The people who run it don't decide whether or not you should be banned. And I don't think you can get banned. I think that they put you in like a not safe for work category if you engage in like offensive speech or something. They put a tag on it so it's filtered. But anyone can still see it if they just click the not safe for work. But if you do get some kind of like restriction, I shouldn't call it a restriction because it's kind of just like, it's a tag. But if you do get any kind of negative action because of your speech, you can appeal to a jury of users who decide whether or not it was offensive and should be, removed or not. So Bill, who runs mine, says it's about just upholding the First Amendment. If it's, against the law or whatever, then the jury decides if it should be removed, and then it is. And that's a really smart thing because Jordan Peterson has talked about, with his new social platform, saying something like, they will only take it down with a court order. That's a bad idea. Like, imagine if someone doxes you. You'd be like, please take it down. And they'll be like, send me the court order. No, dude, that's my private information, right? Or if someone actually breaks the law and starts inciting violence, you probably should just take it down. Yeah, I think it's a clear line. But that's why mines make sense. Because the users decide. There's no authority. It's a democratic process. But that's why it's so funny. This is why they need to come after Facebook. When you try to share a link to a competitor, Facebook impedes you. And a lot of people don't notice. And a lot of times they'll try and post it and it just, they don't see the block. Because you can, it comes up and you've got to click a button and then it approves you. But they don't do that for other websites. Clearly, Facebook is taking action against a competitor. That's enough, right? Why can't I share a rival company? Because they're anti-competitive, and by controlling what people can see, they restrict you from going somewhere else. Could you imagine if in order to buy a cheeseburger at Burger King, you had to walk through McDonald's first, and McDonald's says, where are you going? And you're like, I'm gonna go to Burger King. Oh, you know what? We're closed. You can't come in, sorry. That would be insane. We wouldn't allow that. Admittedly, the analogy isn't perfect. The general idea, though, is that Facebook is the dominant social network. If they're going to block rivals, like imagine if you called someone on the phone and said, what phone company do you have? Do you have Verizon? You should definitely not. You should switch over to, click, the line goes dead. Wouldn't that be insane? Because they're communications tools. This is the problem of monopolies. This is why Facebook is becoming dangerous. They don't want you using rival services. And they're being supported by a media that will smear anybody who dare oppose the tech oligopoly, which is also really insane. You look at all the smears that came out about what we were doing with, the Minds event in Philadelphia. You look at, Minds had like 4 profiles that were like, they were extremist groups and they barely posted. So Vice runs this whole piece smearing everything about Minds. And Minds is like, we took those accounts down. Like, what are you complaining about? Twitter has like 100 times worse because for some reason, there are these people on the left in media who love the establishment and love the tech giants and defend them tooth and nail. I don't even get it. You know what? Maybe it's because they're authoritarians and they love serving their tech masters. Or maybe, let's get conspiratorial. Maybe these companies can predict our behavior so well, they've created an ecosystem that supports people who hold these views. Then their articles get shared more, they get hired more. This is the true nightmare dystopia of big tech and why we need this. Okay, look at it this way. One of the prerequisites now for getting hired is having a following. They may not say that, okay? And certainly people with no following can get jobs. But a lot of companies want to know how many followers you have before they hire you. Why? They want those articles to get shared and make money. Now think about it this way. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, whoever, they can prop up people, recommend them who are favorable to their view of the world. All of a sudden now you have all of these people with 30,000 followers on Twitter who are writing for their company saying, anyone who competes with Facebook is bad. Facebook is our Lord and Savior. It's a private company. It can do what it wants. And you're thinking to yourself, why are all these people supporting Facebook? Mark Zuckerberg's a creep. And it could just be the bias within the system supports those who defend the system. That is creepy. I'm not saying it's that bad right now. I'm not saying there's someone at Facebook or Google who's like, who loves the establishment tech oligopoly? Give them followers. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's where we could be headed. I mean, it might already be happening. It's not somewhere I want to live, So I'm going to wrap this up because you get it. We know the news. There we go. Otherwise, I'll just rant about all these stupid tech companies. But I will end by saying this. This is why I say in almost every video, please share this video. You know why? Do you think Google wants me preaching about why they should be broken up and why they're bad? And I'll admit, if YouTube and Google and these companies are broken up, I stand to lose a lot. My whole business is predicated upon the fact that YouTube is losing money, but supports creators because it's beneficial to them. Well, I don't care. I'd rather see everything I have just be swept up and wiped away by antitrust shutting down big tech because it's better for the world than to sit here and benefit off of it. And that's why I'm a problem for Google. And that's why they derank my content, or at least partly why. Because I'm not one of these people that's going to sit back and say, well, YouTube can do whatever it wants. It's a private company. No, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to say, oh, yeah, I make a career off YouTube 100%. People watch my videos on YouTube. Absolutely. And I think it's a nightmarish problem for society, the way they operate. They're deranking me partly because of that. So when you share this video, you create an interesting problem. They can't outright delete me. I've broken no rules. But sure, their allies in media have been trying. And eventually YouTube will say, we must get rid of the pipeline. And yeah, I'm on the chopping block. We'll see what happens. But for the time being, they can derank me all day and night. But they can't stop you from sharing the link. It would be way too much for Facebook, Google, and Twitter to outright ban a link to a video that's critical of them. And that's the best we can do right now. So I'll leave it there. Stick around. Next segment will be coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. I will see you all next time.